All right. So I guess what we wanted to sort of cover off anyway was a little bit about what Z1 dashboard and Z1 analyzer is, and how it works. Or what I've sort of found, I guess. It's a little bit complicated, um, but it seems to be filled with lots of goodness and lots of useful information. So you just have to excuse me screen because I've had to sort of condense it all back down into uh, onto one monitor. But essentially, the way that I normally sort of set it up is I have all my race stuff on one monitor, and on the second monitor, which is this one, I bring up all my telemetry stuff. So I've got all my race tacho information, all of my tyre temperatures. So it gives me my pressures, inner, middle, and outer uh, tyre pressures, my lap times, as well as track information as well. And the track information will show all current races plus additional telemetry information that you can pass over the top of it, like pit information, where you're going to come back out on track, and other things as well. There's like pace conditions and stuff like that. Other things you can sort of look at on this is standings as well, so you can sort of see where you're standing and pacing and what difference is between timings, as well as relative timings between opponents. I also whack Discord down the bottom as well, so feel free to stop me at any stage or ask any questions if I'm not clear, or if you want to dig down in something a little bit deeper. So that's essentially how I run it. So in essence, with the Z1 dashboard, it sort of comes in an installer package. The installer package looks pretty clean. In essence, there's the analyzer, and so the analyzer is as it says. You can go through and actually analyze all of your data, all of your lap times, all of your telemetry, and compare it with others, as well as the dashboard, in essence, which ultimately controls the feed. You have to have a dashboard open in order to start recording and saving data. And the dashboards, there's hundreds and hundreds of dashboards. So we'll go through some of those as well. The good thing about this is it will always, once you've got it installed and configured, it will always remember the position of wherever you've got these windows on the screen, and you can configure them in all sorts of ways. So on my configuration, I don't have any window modes or anything like that. They're just planted on the screen where I plonk them. And that's essentially it. So I think what we'll do is we'll go through a bit of the setup and how it sort of looks and what options and stuff like that we've got as well. So on this window here, I've just got to set a cursor. So I'll just hit the resume button, in essence, which will bring up all my telemetry. So what I've got here is just a generic tacho, in essence, and it's also giving me some other basic information like rev counters as well. But this is kind of like my default. I put all of my configurations into this particular window, and all these other windows are just secondary to it. So if we're looking at what windows are actually available, we can basically start sort of scrolling through, and there's heaps. So we can look at fuel counts, and I'll just flick through some of these really quickly. Like there's all different sorts of tachos, race telemetry information, you name it. It's going to be in here somewhere. And there's also some really useful additional information as well. So like you can also get ride height, live ride height feeds and all that kind of stuff as well. So when you're doing practice. So once you've got these running, let me just hit the escape button on a set of cursor. Within these settings, and this is where it sort of starts off when you first initially start. So what you want to have is you want to have it installed, and then you want to at least have one dashboard open, and that will automatically start recording your lap information out of a set of cursor. So once we've got one dashboard open, we can go into this settings option, and in the settings option, it's basically it's jam-packed with everything, so you can basically fully customize it. So where's it going to save all of the information to? I've just left all mine default. It's all underneath the user profile, so we don't have to worry about it. set up all your units. It's all Americanized, so you'll have to go through and actually set up all of your kilometers, liters, and PSI and all that kind of stuff. I haven't done PSI on this window. Other things you can do is set your windowing. So this is something that I've done, is to get rid of all of my minimize, maximize, and exit things. Is got rid of the title bar and just made them all thin. That's pretty much one of the number one things, and just lock it to frame. Then you start getting into a few other more detailed sort of stuff. One little trick I've found is whenever if you set it up all through one window, and there's this little tick box set for all cars. So if any time you make any change with inside here, if you hit the set for all cars, it'll actually apply it to all cars in Assetto Corsa. So you can have a dashboard for a Formula One car. You can have a dashboard for the Nismo, or you can have a dashboard for another vehicle.
Yeah, nice.
So it is actually quite nice like that. So you can decide whether or not set for all cars or just have it independent.
Up to a max of 4, or is that for still every single car?
No, that's for every single car in the game.
Damn.
So I really don't understand why they've called it car 1, car 2, car 3. They don't really apply. They're just different properties of the car.
Car page 1, page 2, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So the good thing about, I guess the good thing is, like, once you sort of get set up, I've just kept all my stuff generic, mainly for testing, but there are things like RPM and rev limiting and all that kind of stuff that you actually want to, that's set differently on each car. So I've got a couple of tweaks on that as well. Once you get into it, you can start, here's essentially every single dash that we went through before. There's quite a fair few in there. And you can also set sub-menus, sub-screens as well for each one of these by hitting this plus button. So you can have screen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what this is good for, and what I've sort of found it is, you can actually, if you don't have a second screen, like what I've got, you can actually feed all this information out to a mobile phone or a iPad or a tablet.
That's pretty cool.
And I just have that sitting on the bench. And then what you can do is you can have like a push button on your controller, and you can actually scroll through your screens. All right, so that way you make one dashboard in essence, but it has multiple screens. So I think I've got one in here. So if I go resume, and if I just click on this, see how it scrolls through all these screens, and that's just normal click. So, and you can make that as a button as well. So that was one thing that I got a little bit confused about at the start, was the difference between having individual windows. You can have up to, I think it's 6 individual windows framed and do whatever you like, and they can all store their own settings. And they're all numbered 1, 2, 3, etc. Or you can use the one screen. So yeah. A couple of other things as well that are important are your rev limiter indicators, and that can control a whole host of different things as well. So we can actually get into sound, so we can actually announce the gears. We can play upshift tones, which basically is like a little blip when you're actually
like a
like a shift light in essence. That's a good way of putting it. As well as you can also have speech come over the top of it as well, so it can actually also announce your lap times and your deltas and your fastest laps and what position you're in and stuff like that as well. So they're a bit of a combination of both. You can start getting into strategy if you want to start doing strategy as well. Or your button mappings, which you'll figure out sort of as you sort of go. But here's this one, in essence, with the networking, where you can enable web streaming, and then you can point your mobile device to that URL. So that just gets rid of having to have multiple screens. Once you've got all of this telemetry and stuff like that feeding, and you've got this sort of side of it down pat, then we sort of move across into the, I guess, the analyzer aspect of it. And that's probably where it's, where you get the most use from. So if I just get rid of all this now, and I just minimize all this. and essentially open up the analyzer. Got that many instances of it running, have I? Yep. It's down here. There it is. All right, so, and this is basically the analyzer. So when you first open up the analyzer, you get presented with this particular screen. So one thing it will do, and I'll show you this, is when you first come into it, it goes out and runs a scan. And so there's a whole host of different games that it actually picks up. But this one, in essence, I've got a set of Corsa. So there's 491 laps that I've done somewhere. It will download them. Would we like to open up a lap now? Yep, of course. And essentially, I end up with all of my tracks. Let's just say Barcelona GP, and then I can actually look at what cars I've actually raced in. So I can right-click on any of these and filter out cars, filter out dates, do whatever I like. But let's just say if I go down to, I don't know, this particular lap down here, the other thing you can do, which is useful, is compare laps with other people as well in similar vehicles. So if you want to turn this on, and this is something I've just recently done, is it'll actually go out onto the Z1 dashboard screen servers and actually pick up their laps as well. So if there's a similar car, which I don't think there is, I've only just started posting my laps up there, but if there's a similar car, you can do a search on that car, check the lap times, and then compare your braking zones and all that kind of stuff between someone else that's actually done it quicker.
That's really nice.
So once you've got it, there's two different things. You can either open it up as a lap or open it up as a base lap. So opening it up as a base map is basically where you're going to be, you want to compare to. But in this instance, I'm just going to open up a lap. And you can sort of see here that it brings back some basic telemetry. So this is just something that I've sort of set up in essence, where I can see throttle, what brake pressure I've applied throughout, as well as steering percentage, fuel level, speed, and whatnot. And as you click through the course, you can actually start to see what speed and pace and stuff like that you're putting in at what particular time. You can also do video overlay, but I don't necessarily save all of my video, so I haven't sort of bothered too much. And then you can start doing, once you've got all this data, and you can recall any data at any time by changing any one of these, I guess whatever you call them, like histograms, tables, whatever you want to call them. And these are basically all of the inputs that you get. So there's heaps. Wheel percentage, driver inputs, aero, suspension, engine stats. You could even go down to water temperature if you want.
In depth.
Just depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go.
That's it.
So once you sort of get into that, I guess then you can start to do all your all your analyzing and stuff like that. So if you want, with this particular track, you can go out and do a bit of a track walk. So let's just say, bang, okay, this track, what's the corner? Gives us elevation, degrees, pitches, and all this kind of stuff, which starts to come in handy a little bit later on when you start getting a little bit further down the rabbit hole. You can start doing, say, okay, where are my break points? Where am I locking things up? How do I do it better? How long was I braking for? But when you can see here is when you're comparing it to a base map. So if you're comparing it to someone else's lap, this is where it becomes really useful, because you can say, oh, hang on, I've been a bit early on the brakes, or I'm a bit late on the brakes on that particular corner. You can see driving line as well. And then you can start to get some coaching and stuff like that as well. So my biggest problem at the moment is pretty much understeer in a lot of the corners. So just trying to iron that out. If you want to start taking it further and further and further from there, you can. If I do a lap overview, this gives you a little bit of a a bit of a rundown. So it says, okay, on this particular lap, I had 10 individual lockups. These were the apexes that I missed pretty much on turn 13, but I also went wide out on 1, 3, 4, and 5. And then you can go back and replay those particular videos or instances, or check for the reason why you're actually late on those particular areas. Other things you've sort of got in here as well, so you can start doing some scatter plots and stuff like that. You can introduce your own maths channels if you like. So if you want to compare stuff, you can do, I don't know, you might think that ride height's got something to do with steering input or something like that. So you can start to compare the two and do some maths over it and then chart it out. So the other ones as well is really just the scatter plots, and I don't know if they've got any maybe 5th gear scatter plots, but these particular ones are sort of non-representative of really anything because I'm never really in that gear. So I guess that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Like, that's sort of like the basics. I think the main thing you've really got to make sure on is you're always running a dashboard whenever you're racing, because that ultimately is the thing that will capture and store all of the data. And then the analyzer is kind of secondary to everything. Once you've gone out and raced and you've done everything, as long as you've had a dashboard open, then whenever you come back into open for laps, you can actually scan, and it will bring them all in.
Nice. So you can actually have this running by the looks as well concurrently to your actual race. Have it maybe on another monitor. This is like start live telemetry.
Yeah, 100%. So if you can have this running as well as live telemetry. The good thing I've just found out though, one thing that they've just recently done in the dashboard, and I think it must have been in the last update because I hadn't actually seen it before. If I open up have I still got it open? Oh yeah, still got it open. Let's just use this one. If you right click on this instance, it puts in edit mode, and then you can actually then scroll through every window, and then you can store that window. When you right click on it again, it'll actually save that. So that's something to be mindful of. So right click, but in here, up the end here somewhere, I think it's at the end of these. There's that many of them. Oh, I don't even know where they are anymore. I'll be back this way now.
You looped around, have you?
Yeah, they're somewhere. They're probably on one of my other windows. I thought they were near me tyres. But there was all the, you could actually see all the, it brought up all the telemetry feeds. Yeah, here we go. I think in here. So you can start to focus on some.
Yep.
So if you're looking at ride height or suspension or something like that, and you're just doing quali laps and stuff like that, just to see whether or not it's working.
I think that's just all very similar to the in-game telemetry, from what I remember seeing of it, or maybe similar.
Yeah. You could say brake pressure, or the bottom must be brake pressure or something like that. But yeah, there's heaps and heaps and heaps of options. You can sort of make it like you will.
Yeah, awesome.
But other than that, it's so
basically make it what you will kind of thing.
Yeah. So I guess the biggest challenges I faced was one, trying just to figure out the general install and the comparison between the analyzer and the dashboard. It wasn't too sort of clear how all that stuff worked. But in essence, the way I figured it out is if you've got the dashboard open, it's always going to be storing stats. So I just have it open. Set up your windows and your frames. If I just exit out of this, the only way that you can edit the settings inside the dashboard is by exiting or putting this in, say, like pause mode, and then it puts this over here. So then you go settings. Obviously, ticking and set for all cars is something that's probably important at the start while you're just trying to get it all set up, because otherwise you end up having buggered up cars. And focus most of your attention on one dashboard before you start opening up other instances of it.
Okay.
If you focus your attention on one dashboard, then it will copy the settings from the last one, the last one, the last one, the last one as well.
Yep.
All right. And to open up more dashboards, you just double click on. Well, I'll have to close some down, but you just double click on and it opens up another window.
So it just does that sequentially from 1 through to 6 on whatever you've configured through those settings.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So you might have to open that up 6 times.
Yep. The RPM for the RPM indicator, does that adjust automatically per car, or you've got to manually set that, do you?
Some cars it's automatically set for. Some cars are a little bit off. And so what all I've been doing is just going into Assetto Corsa, just checking out roughly where the rev limiter sits, and then just typing it in. In this particular case, this car's actually had it set automatically. The last car that I raced, I can't remember what that was, it didn't have it set and it was out. But it was just a really simple fix.
Yeah, nice.
So
I mean, it probably doesn't matter too much anyway, because I mean, I've got mine on my wheel, and you also have your in-game HUD one. But at the same time, if you're using the tacho, that dashboard, then it's definitely handy to have it correct.
Yeah. Other things you've got in here as well is like when the yellow flag and all that kind of stuff comes out. All your screens will all flash, so sometimes you sort of get a little bit blind. So it might be you can turn all those things sort of off in here as well. And really, you only need one speech window. So as I was sort of saying before, set up your primary screen as to how you want it, get it all working, and then worry about all your secondaries.
Yeah, nice. I'll do like that enhanced feature.
Yeah, it comes in handy. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I never really ended up with too many challenges other than just trying to get these working properly, like the dashboard. Yeah, the analyzer just works.
Yeah, pretty much open the dashboard when you're going to go racing. Afterwards, open up the analyzer and have a play with it. And see where you need to improve.
Yeah, and so if everyone takes it up, in essence, what I can do is I can just set up on my website, just set up an upload that will automatically upload the files. And then we can all compare each other.
Yeah, nice.
So it's something that we might want to do. I don't know. It's up to everyone, I guess. But you can share the laps. My laps and stuff like that are feeding into here somewhere. I don't know where now, but they were before.
In that sense, you can probably get each other's through there as well. But I'm guessing it's just easier if you've got your own local server.
Yeah. It just depends on whether you want to make them public or not. So it's up to you. I think they're in here somewhere. Maybe my lap's hobs were that poor that they've taken them down.
Yeah, that initial kind of nutting stuff out and just getting a base configuration in is probably what'll save the most time. From you doing this, so that's really good. And then it's just a bit of a fiddle around figuring out what works best for you.
That's exactly right. There was another spot. I just can't remember if it was in here or not. Let's just check. No, I don't think it's going to matter anyway. This particular one here. So when you first set it up, there's the it connects into all these different games, and it takes ages to do scans and stuff. It goes through each one individually. So I've just set it to the games that I use. So Assetto Corsa, Z1 server, and Z1 analyzer. I've only just left the server just in case. But yeah, that's about it. And this web streaming's all brand new. So this has only just been released. So it's this is the first iteration of it.
Yeah, nice.
And they're doing updates. I've received 3 updates this month on it. So they seem to be.
Maybe I should start this subscription.
Oh, like mate, it was $1.50 or something like that.
$1.50, but I'm like, I'm sure I can just manage with whatever version I've got now. But they still seem to be actively developing it and adding in new features. So for that essence, yeah, definitely be good to, I think, get a few more updates. Just let it go.
To get a bit of an idea of how. Let me see if I can actually log on to my dashboard, so you can actually sort of see what you get. I guess dashboard.com.
I think I saw a bit before because I've paid for my standard version as well. What password manager are you using?
Bitwarden.
Bitwarden, yeah. What am I using? Anyway.
So in essence, you've got this particular thing here, and this is the dashboard in essence. So all of the versions and stuff like that sort of come down in here, all the bug fixes and stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, you can do the LCD box and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, nice.
But it's up to you.
I've got an old tablet. I reckon I'll prop beside my monitor and just stream it to that.
Yeah, it seems to work okay. I don't notice any lag or anything like that between it. No different to what I've got on my actual normal dashboard. And you can set all your frame rates and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, nice. Man, wouldn't it be awesome if the developers of Content Manager and these guys got together and produced a baby? All of that joined together.
Yep.
Be amazing.
Yep. Yeah. But like through all my reading and stuff like that, ultimately, if you've got a sim machine in essence, or this is the dashboard that they're using, because you can just do your taco, do your overlays, do whatever. You can do you can overlay these inside the game as well, yes. Like somewhere racing or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I like it, so I haven't.
I like the shape.
Yeah.
That's what I heard too, Ben.
I like it.
But yeah, on my ultra wide, I got tons of screen real estate to the right, where there's like nothing except the apps I put in there in game at the moment. So I could definitely put it in there as an in-game overlay as well.
Yeah, when I shift all my work gear back into the office, I think I'll put my other screen back in and set it up. I reckon that's a good idea.
It was really interesting because I was having lots of troubles with, say, cold tires and stuff like that. And then I grabbed this particular module and just put it in there, and then I've seen exactly what was going on. Like I could say, it's not necessarily cold across the whole entire face of the tire. It's only like one's, I think it was either the outside or something like that was getting hot, and the rest of it was cold. But it was measuring a average across the lot.
Yeah, and that's probably where the in-game app's leading you astray a bit. And now,
I think. Well, now I just changed the toe angle on my bloody tyre, and it was like, bang, done, fixed.
That's it.
I've still got a little bit of understeer, but nowhere near as much as what I was having. So, yeah, I don't know if there's any other questions. Yell out. I'm always online, so happy to help.
Excellent.
Happy to help set it up.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Gowdy.